welcome back to my channel. For this first series, I'm going to be doing a planets in the first house, and I'm going to be going through all 12 houses. So for this first video, it's going to be based on all the planets that is in the first house. So what you need to do, if you guys haven't already and you don't know how to, you need to go to astroseek.com or you need to go to astro.com. When you get there, you got to have your birth time, your the place you were born, and stuff like that. So if you already have that and you guys are interested in knowing what a certain planet means in a certain house, go ahead and keep watching. The first house is how people typically perceive you. It represents your physical appearance, your looks, and your personality. I will have time links in the description below so you guys can just jump to the planet. So this is for you all who have Mars in your first house. Mars in the first house can make you a go-getter, a natural leader, impulsive, and energetic, like extremely energetic. Sometimes you could be seen as like aggressive at times, you know what I mean? Like you can come off aggressive to people. An example of someone who is like extreme with Mars in the first house is Donald Trump. Like you see how aggressive he is, like you try to attack him, he's gonna come back straight at you. Like that's an example, like an extreme example of Mars in the first house. It gives you that double Aries energy because the first house naturally rules Aries. So it doesn't matter if you have Aries there or not, you're gonna have the qualities of someone who has an Aries rising with that Mars in the first house. These people can be entrepreneurs, inventors, investors. They can own multiple businesses. Someone that's highly developed and has a lot of like grounded energy in their chart too. I see them with Mars in the first house being some type of high level military leader. Mars in the first house gives people this like never back down type of energy. It makes them strong-willed and just like wanting to be the best at everything. So that's it for Mars in the first house. Alright, so for Venus in the first house. These people with Venus in the first house are seen as extremely stunning, fair, charming, and they could be a little bit of the people-pleasing type. Relationships tend to play a huge part in this person's identity. They may attract people and acquire things very easily. They can express themselves through the way that they dress. Like they may dress like very beautiful and that like turns the head. They're known for that, you know. They like the way they look, and they like to probably wear a lot of jewelry and, you know, accessories and things like that, like to beautify their body. Probably have extremely nice bodies. I noticed this thing, like people with Venus like conjunct their ascendant or somewhere in the first house regardless, but mainly like near their ascendant, tend to have like a beautiful singing voice or speaking voice. Like people who have a beautiful speaking or singing voice or a personality, you'll see that with Venus in the first house. Okay, guys, so if you have Mercury in the first house, I bet you are seen as extremely chatty. You have knowledge on many subjects. You may possibly stutter, like not maybe like stutter all the time, but you may stutter every now and then. You probably like talk with your hands a lot and just like frantic because Mercury rules Gemini, and Gemini rules like the hands. Like you probably talk with your hands a lot. Virgo and Gemini people, which are ruled by the planet Mercury, they tend to be very like tall and slender. Maybe you may appear like extremely neat. Like I said, you're super intelligent and you probably like talk a lot, maybe like gossip a lot, dib and dab into drama a little bit. You could be a natural motivational speaker, good at writing poems or writing books. So that's all for Mercury in the first house. If you guys have Uranus in the first house, you guys are natural rebels. You rebel against authority. You are very spontaneous. You may change the way you look drastically all the time. Like you may have like red hair one day, pink the other. On another note, you guys are very philanthropic. You are very generous. You may move around a lot in your life. People probably like, golly, they're always moving somewhere. They like, you're known for like moving. You guys are the visionaries. Like you have like good visions, good ideas and things like that. You guys are risk takers. And you may be like the type of person Okay, I'm not laughing because I'm like this, but I don't have Uranus in the first house. You may be the type of person that like pops into people's lives whenever you want to, like here and there and here and there. Like nobody knows where you are because you're just so unexpected, so awesome. But that's all I have for Uranus in the first house. For everybody who has the moon in the first house, you guys are seen as very empathetic, kind, nurturing, and emotional. You come off as very moody sometimes, or like extremely sensitive. Sometimes you can be reserved or shy depending on how like your first house is set up, but typically the moon in the first house makes you like extremely reserved and shy. You may like really hide yourself or like really hate to be singled out in front of a group of people. You're not the one that wants to be like called out or in the spotlight. You kind of just want to like, you know, be to yourself and not be in that spotlight. Also with the moon in the first house, early childhood has a huge impact on how the moon in the first house person sees themselves. Another thing with the moon in the first house, you may be kind of like a round shape, or maybe you have like this round shaped face, like a cute little baby face, like super round, or you may have like a little round, like a round body, just like a very nurturing look. For all my Plutos in the first house, what's up? Because I have Pluto in the first house too. Pluto in first house, Scorpio actually. So I'm very Scorpionic on one hand, and we can be intense, come off very like mysterious, mystical, sexual, magical, intriguing. I'm hyping us up. But that's really how Pluto people in the first house come off. We tend to go through many hard lessons and transformations during this lifetime, especially in early childhood. You know, Pluto is a water sign, and like we're empathetic in our own way, not in a Cancer or Piscean way, but Pluto is empathetic in a like transformative way. Like, people with Pluto in the first house are like very empathetic to people, especially when they're struggling and going through things like that. But we tend to be like very like emotionally cut off, reserved. Another thing with people who have Pluto in the first house, they tend to get fixated on things that interest them. They could spend a lot of time alone studying a new subject or participating in something that caught their eye, and they're good investigators too, guys. Never mess over a Pluto in the first house person, because they can be very like intense, and they can like seek revenge. If they're not like well developed, they'll be plotting revenge if you come after them. But that's all for Pluto in the first house. So Jupiter in the first house brings you a lot of blessings, a lot of abundance. If it's not affected by any malefic planets, it brings you a lot of that. Jupiter in the first house gives you that guru vibe. Many people may see you as like a guru, or they come to you for advice or knowledge. You may come off as like, you may give off that teacher vibe. You may be some type of teacher. Jupiter in the first house also can make the person gain weight very easily, because Jupiter is the planet of expansion, and the first house does rule your body. So with Jupiter in the first house, you can gain weight really easily if you're not careful and watch your diet. So that's it for Jupiter in the first house. If you guys have the sun in the first house, you are very interesting to people. Whether that's you doing something to gain that attention, or like you just naturally attracting attention towards you from just being yourself. You have a lot of charm. You're very compelling. If you have the sun in the first house, you tend to care a lot about people, and you like wear your heart out on your sleeve. Now, when it comes to like people reciprocating that energy that you give out, if they don't give it back, you tend to like be very dramatic and maybe like a bitch towards that person. Like if you're giving people some of your sunlight, you know what I mean, you're expecting something in return, you know what I mean, like an equal exchange. So you can become very dramatic at times, especially when people fuck you over with the sun in the first house. Like you can be lazy at times, because until there's like some call to action or there's something to actually do, you can be lazy at times with the sun in the first house. Also, you may have a natural talent for acting, for singing, for the arts. And like Leo in the first house too, also these people tend to like romanticize their life. But anyways, that's all I have for the sun in the first house. Alright guys, if you have Saturn in the first house, you tend to have this like serious demeanor. You tend to be very disciplined and very organized. Saturn in the first house people tend to be leaders. They tend to focus a lot on having success in the workplace. They may be like the CEO type because they're like so focused. They have so much that Saturn energy, and Saturn likes success. They like discipline, so they're seen as like this authoritative figure in like businesses. So you may be like some type of manager or something like that, or come off like you just give off that managerial energy, the managerial vibes. You are very intellectual, super smart, because you put your mind, like you have to work hard for things. That's the thing with Saturn in first house. You tend to have to work a little bit harder for things. So whenever you put your mind to something, you actually learn it. You come across very cold-hearted and reserved, like you don't care, like you don't give a fuck, because you're very focused on your own goals and succeeding and climbing that mountain with that Saturn Capricorn energy in your first house. But you guys nonetheless are go-getters, you are hard workers, and you guys are destined for success. Last but not least, if you guys have Neptune in the house, this is the part where you are. You guys with Neptune in the first house are extremely sensitive. You guys are very intuitive and empathetic. You feel things on a deeper level. You feel things on even a subconscious level that you're not even aware of. You may pick up on people's energy so easily, and you may absorb people's energy very easily. So I say Neptune in the first house people need to really protect their energy. You are daydreamers. You can come up with creative, genius ideas, but you may lack the discipline to actually ground those ideas into an actual plan, because you're just in your head daydreaming all day. So you never like actually come down and sit down to actually plan, unless you have some earth in your chart that helps you ground. So if you have a Capricorn rising with Neptune in the first house, Capricorn energy will help you grounded. You guys are very generous. You guys are very spiritual, and very creative. Neptune in the first house people are very creative, and you could be taken advantage of very easily. You may be seen as someone that people could take advantage of very easily. But nonetheless, my advice for Neptune, which I didn't give advice for any of the signs, but if you have Neptune in your first house and it's not in the earth sign, or fire sign, you really need to work on like grounding your energy and protecting your energy. So that's it, guys. Go ahead and comment down below what planets you have in your first house and what your first house ruler is. That is all I have for you guys. I will see you on